You are now tuning into the Resilient Podcast. Enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 31 of the Resilient Podcast. It's just me today, and it's always me. But I'm sitting here a few days after turning 39. And to be honest, this birthday hit different. Not because I threw a big party or had a life-changing moment, but because I gave myself the space to reflect on everything I've survived. And since May is Mental Health Awareness Month, I want to talk about the things we don't always say out loud. The unspoken battles and the resilience behind the smile. This one is for anyone that is carrying something they haven't been able to name, and for anyone still showing up. Before I get into today's episode, I want to send my heartfelt condolences to the family of my late friend Vanessa Patchouli, who I went to high school with. I was in high school from 2000 to 2004. And in those 4 years, I knew Vanessa. Vanessa unfortunately passed away at the age of 37, a day before my birthday, which was May 18th, on Sunday. And on my birthday, on Monday, May 19th, when my best friend Javier reached out to me to wish me happy birthday, he did something that, it changed my mood for the day a bit. But he reached out and told me that he had bad news. And, my best friend, I love him to death. He usually reaches out to me when there's bad news. He never really reaches out for me for good news. He's going to kill me if he hears this. But when he told me that, I said, oh boy, what's going on? And then he shared the news with me. Vanessa was his girlfriend for quite some time, and they dated briefly after high school. And she was funny woman. I didn't really talk much with Vanessa after high school. We reconnected on Facebook, like I did with most of my friends from the past, my childhood friends, my friends from school, my former classmates, and we were connected for a while, and she had relocated to Connecticut, and that's where she was. And from what I heard, she was in the hospital. Something happened to her. I guess she went back home, and somehow, some way, I guess someone found her unresponsive. So, Vanessa, you will be missed. Thank you for the memories. Thank you for all the jokes. Again, my heart goes out to her family, her son. She left a young son behind. And, I just want to get into that with the birthday wishes. I had so many people reach out to me for my birthday, and I want to say something. And I first of all, I want to thank you all for the birthday wishes. It truly means a lot. And a few days ago, while I was celebrating another year of life, I received the phone call that I mentioned from Javier that Vanessa had passed away. And like I mentioned before, like we haven't spoken in years. But she was one person who, like I said, she was funny, and of course, she was a part of my life. Um, she was very close to us, and she was very good friends with my best friend's sister, twin sister, and we shared so much memories in those hallways in Fort Hamilton High School, and those were the carefree days that never left me. Those were the days that we weren't paying bills. Those are those days that we weren't adulting and we weren't doing anything that had major responsibilities. But it's a strange feeling celebrating my life while also mourning the loss of someone who once was so important to me and to my friends. And it reminded me of how fragile and how unpredictable life can be. So thank you all again for the love you showed me on my birthday. I carry it with me today. And as I reflect not only on the gift of another year of life, but I also want to sorry guys. It's just what I was saying to my friends and what I was saying to family was I'm celebrating another year of life, and my life has not been easy for a very long time. But when I'm here complaining and I'm here, doubting certain things and feeling maybe a little bit unappreciative of what's going on, like the blessings that I'm receiving, things like this happen. So Vanessa passing away makes me appreciate life a little bit more. So I just want to thank those who have helped me shape my journey. And, Vanessa, again, I hope you rest in peace. And you'll always be part of my life. And I dedicate this episode to Vanessa. A few things that I wanted to talk about. A few days before my birthday, a week and a half ago, I found out that my ex-girlfriend graduated from the police academy. When we broke up, she was heading towards that direction. And that was the reason why we broke up, because she wanted to focus on her career. She wanted to do what she needed to do for herself. And she felt that she didn't need to be in a relationship for that. And, when she explained that to me, it just didn't make any sense, because I said to me, what do you mean you don't need to be in a relationship? And, that's pretty much how she felt. She felt that she was going to go away for quite some time, which she probably did, for the boot camp and the training for the academy. And she felt that it was not fair to me to wait for her, which I honestly thought was ridiculous that she felt that way. Because we never really spoke about it. Like she never, we never really like got the chance to sit down. Like if she had sat down with me and said, hey babe, I wanted to share something with you, like around Christmas time or something like that. Or like when the beginning of when the new year started, if this is something she already had in mind or something that she had in mind since last year, I wish that she would have communicated that with me, which she didn't. Maybe she wasn't sure about it. Maybe she didn't think that she was going to do it. Or maybe she knew about it, but she just didn't want to talk about it, or she wasn't ready to talk about it. And, she felt that I wouldn't be able to wait for her for, like, let's say, for example, 8 months if she went away. And I told her during the breakup that was not the case, that, you know, I would wait for her because there was no reason for me not want to wait for her. You know, it wasn't like she was going to the military and she was going to be gone for years or whatnot. I told her, look, at the time, I said, I'm going to be 38 years old. You're 30, you're going to be 31 this year. This was last year that I had this conversation with her during the breakup phase. And I said to her, I'm not going anywhere. I want to marry you someday and I want us to be happy. And if this is the career that you want for yourself, then I am here to support it. It's not like she was coming to me and saying, babe, I'm going to start an OnlyFans, or babe, I want to become a stripper, or babe, I'm going to become a prostitute for a living. It's not like she came to me with something like that, something that, of course, I could not actually accept and something that I cannot support her with. But even if she came up to me and said something like, babe, I want to become a teacher, or I want to become a college professor, or I want to become a nurse, right? If she said something like that, I would be supportive, because when you love someone enough, you support the career path that they want. If you're not supportive, that means that you're kind of being a little selfish, and it kind of means that you don't really have your own goals and aspirations. And remember, there was a quote one time from Oprah Winfrey that said something along the lines of, people too weak to live their dreams will try to diminish yours. And, one of the solutions that I came up with my friend who Stefania, who I had shared this with, and said, look, like, she wants to become a cop and she thinks that it doesn't make sense for us to be in a relationship. Stefania helped me realize that, well, babe, how about this? You feel that I can't be there like the way you want me to be, and you feel like, it's not that she felt that I couldn't be supportive. She just felt that it was too much for me. So I said to her, babe, how about this? If you have to go away for 8 months, how about I live in your apartment for those 8 months? I take care of your dog. At the time, I had gifted her a turtle, who I mentioned in the past, Philly. I'll take care of Taryn. I'll take care of Philly. I'll take care of your apartment. If I have to go to New York to my office, I'll go to my office 2 to 3 days a week, and I'll Amtrak every single day to New York City, if I have to. Or the days that I need to go to New York, I'll Amtrak and come back home. And, I'll be gone for a few hours, but I'll be back home every evening, and I'll do the same thing that you do with the dog. Like, I will feed the dog first thing in the morning, leave, walk him, first, then put him in the cage and leave, and then come back in the evening time, feed him again, walk him, shower and whatnot. And I even offered to pay her rent for those 8 months, because I don't know how it works. I don't know if she was going to get paid during that time and her rent needed to be paid. And I was willing to do that, but she didn't see it that way. She didn't see, like, what I was offering was enough. Maybe she had emotionally checked out of the relationship, and she realized, oh, I should let him go find somebody else. Like, she mentioned to me, like, you should find somebody better than me, or you should find somebody that's just like you. And it just really messed me up in the head a lot. So I saw on Facebook that a family friend had posted, tagged her in the photos, and it was a ceremony. And I saw videos of her walking up with several other officers that had graduated. She received some plaques. She shook hands with, the sergeant or whatever, whoever that person is. I was initially very, very happy for her, but I was sad at the same time because I wanted to be there. I had told her that even if we were not together, that I wanted to go to that ceremony, that graduation, to cheer for her. And then, because she had graduated, I was going to surprise her with a truck. She wanted a truck so bad. So I had put some money aside for a down payment to get her a truck. And, as time went by, if we were still together, I was going to ask her, so babe, so what truck do you want to get? And based upon the information she gave me, I was going to reach out to my resources and tell them, like, look, this is what she wants and how much is it? And I would have surprised her with it. And the day she graduated, as she was leaving, the ceremony, the truck was going to be parked outside waiting for her. When I told her about that idea that I wanted to put money down for a truck, she, instead of saying like, oh, I mean, she did say like, oh, that was a nice gesture, but instead what she said to me was, why weren't you saving that money for yourself to get yourself your own apartment or this and this and this? And I was like, I guess that she's never been in a relationship where she had a partner that was that supportive of her dreams, of her aspirations, to the point that if someone surprised her like that, I mean, I'm sure if I was able to surprise her with this, she would have been happy. But the reason why I even mentioned it to her is because since we were breaking up, I confessed to her the plans that I had for 2024 for us. Even though she ended up graduating this year, 2025, May of 2025, a few days before my birthday, I would have waited. I would have been like, all right, she's not graduating until May 2025. Perfect. It would have been a perfect birthday gift for me that she graduated from the academy. And it would have been a perfect gift for her that she would have gotten her truck. So right now, at this very moment, if we were still together, she would have been riding around in her truck as a police officer in the city of Philadelphia. So, there's a lot of wishful thinking. There's a lot of the shoulda, woulda, coulda. And none of these things happened. And maybe they didn't happen for a reason, because maybe it wasn't meant to be. Maybe she didn't deserve all of this that I wanted to give her. Maybe she's not the person that deserves to receive these gifts, or at least not receive them from me. Maybe she could have received it from someone else. I just hope that when she graduated, as happy as she was, that maybe for a split second she thought a little bit about my words of what I wanted to do for her when she reached that milestone in her life. But I don't know, a part of me feels like that day went by and I was not a thought in her mind. And that's okay. I changed my whole scheduling with my therapist because I started having some issues with my insurance, and my insurance changed. So now the way my insurance works, there's a lot of things going on, and there's a lot of out-of-pocket costs. The premiums have gotten a little higher, and it's unfortunate because this has a lot to do with this new administration. And that's fine because, what they say, the more you make, the more they take. So apparently I'm making way too much more money now in the state of New York, which is ridiculous for the audacity for the government to say that to me. But apparently I make too much money and I can afford to pay more premium on my health insurance. So long story short, my therapist bills my insurance for my sessions. And now what I did was, instead of talking to her weekly, I started something with her where we're just going to talk bi-weekly. So we're going to talk twice a month instead of 4 times a month. And that's fine until we could figure something out. But I was able to talk to a very close friend, and they didn't want me to mention their name. And I said to them, I'm going to bring you up on my next podcast. And they said, my next podcast episode. And they said to me, don't say my name. Just don't say my name. And I'm like, I don't know why I can't say your name, but okay. And my friend asked me, you're turning a year older this year. It's a year after your breakup. It's a year after, you were supposed to be on a cruise with your ex, and because your ex, was supposed to take you on a cruise for your birthday. It's a year after all those things. So what does 39 mean to you? Like turning 39, what does it mean to you? And this was a long conversation, by the way. This is a conversation. It was over the phone. It was actually through FaceTime, because this is a friend that I hadn't spoke to in a few months. And I said to them, well, um, turning 39, felt like um, standing between two chapters. You know, I'm not quite at 40 because that's not till next year. But I lived through enough in the last year alone to feel like I've aged a decade. That's just how I feel. So this birthday wasn't about celebration. It was about survival, reflection, letting go. I lost, I've learned, and I'm still healing. And honestly, I'm proud of myself for still being here. I'm proud of myself for not giving up and for finally understanding what it means to protect my peace. And my friend was like, nice. And by the way, this friend of mine, we're actually meeting in a few days. We're going to have coffee together in my neighborhood. And we'll continue this conversation. But then my friend asked me, well, Rob, what's going to be your next episode? Like, what are you going to talk about in your next episode? And I said, I want to talk about the unspoken battles. So my friend goes, okay, so what's one unspoken battle you fought that people don't know about? And I was like, well, I don't know if people don't know about this, but this past year I battled a lot of silence, especially after my relationship with Ashlei ended. I never really talked about how deep that pain went. I talked about it on the podcast, but I don't know if I touched like the surface with it, but you know, how I prayed for a future with her, you know, it has been the most difficult thing for me. And, you know, then I mentioned to my friend, I said to my friend, last week she graduated from the Philadelphia Police Academy, and I was so proud. Generally, I wanted to be there to cheer her on, to support her like I always said I would. But I wasn't invited to be part of that moment because we're not even together anymore. And even if we were still on good terms, I'm not sure if I would have been invited regardless. But, what I feel is that she thought that my presence might be too heavy for her journey. And even though that hurt, I respected it. That silence, that distance was one of the hardest battles I've faced. Loving someone from afar and letting go. So my friend was like, whoa, that's so deep. And I'm so sorry. And, I shared the photo of her, graduating. And my friend, like, I could tell my friend's eyes were watery. And my friend's like, man, like, this must be really hard for you. And I was like, it is. But she got what she wanted. She wanted this career. This is something she wanted to do. And I'm extremely, extremely happy for her. And I wish her the very best. And I want the best for her always. Because when you love somebody that much, you're always going to want the best for them, regardless if you're in their life or not. So my friend asked me, well, Rob, I'm kind of going through something. And this is why I'm asking you these questions. So what advice would you give to your younger self about emotional pain? And I was like, emotional pain. If I was able to talk to young Rob, I'd tell him You don't have to pretend you're okay all the time. You're allowed to hurt, to cry, to need help. Don't carry everything alone. You don't earn your worth by enduring more pain than others. You're already enough. Choose peace over pride and never apologize for having a heart that feels deeply. That's what I would say to my younger self. And when I said that, my friend was crying. And I was like, sorry. I'm sorry that I hurt your feelings. And then my friend's like, no, I told you I'm going through something. So, you just saying that makes me think about what I would say to myself. And then we got into it. We spoke about like what he's going through, and um it was pretty deep. So then my friend asked me, so listen, um, with all this resilience that you've been through so far, how has your view on resilience changed as you've gotten older, like, in the last year, now and whatnot? And I said, well, remember, I didn't know what resilience was many, many years ago, but now that I know what resilience is, you know, and what resilience meant to me in the beginning, when I first discovered what resilience used to mean powering through everything, even if it broke me. And now it means knowing when to rest, when to walk away, when to cry, when to start over. Resilience isn't about being unbreakable, it's about being real, it's about being human and still finding the strength to try again. And my friend's like, beautiful. And I was like, yeah, you know. So my friend goes, I have a few more questions to ask you. And I was like, I feel like I'm on my own podcast. And I was like, yeah, maybe I should interview in your own podcast one day. I was like, you should. You should. I definitely intend to do that. I definitely intend to do the roles reverse thing one day. I definitely intend to have a guest on the show that's going to interview me instead of me interviewing them. I don't know if it's somebody that I already interviewed or maybe somebody just brand new. But my friend asked me, so look, it's Mental Health Awareness Month. And I know you talk a lot about mental health awareness. I seen you wearing the green ribbon in some of your pictures around this time of the year. So what role does mental health play in your life today? And I said, well, it plays a central role. Um, my emotional wellness is something I have to actively nurture. I check in with myself more. I talk to people when I need to, like my therapist. And I've learned that suppressing my feelings doesn't make me stronger. It just makes me silent. And silence over time, and I want people to pay close attention to this. Silence over time becomes a heavy burden. And I want to live free, not bottled up. So silence is not an option. And I want people to make a note of that. So my friend says to me, well, why do you think people hide their pain behind the smile? Like Robin Williams, Michael Jackson, all these people that were depressed and whatnot. And I said, well, because from my perspective, we've been conditioned to believe that showing pain equals weakness, especially men. And especially in public. But behind the smile, there's often a storm. We hide it to protect others. We hide it to survive. But we shouldn't have to. Smiling should be a reflection of peace, not a disguise for pain. And I want people to understand that. So my friend was talking about validation and all these things and said to me, look, I know that you've always talked about like, you know, you feel that people don't appreciate you. You feel like you're not heard, seen, valued. You once said to me something about I want to smell my flowers while I can still smell them. So, when did you feel most seen or validated during your struggles? And I was like, boom, I invited you to this event, and you were present. So I said, during the 10th anniversary of my company, ARCG Media, in 2023, we were back in the same venue where it all began, the Wyndham Garden in Chinatown, Manhattan. And that day, after all the people that were there, it was a private event. I told everybody no phones, no nothing. It's just like an experience that we want to see for with our own eyes, the old school way, the old fashioned way. And, I felt like people saw me, not just the brand, not just the work, but me, my heart, my journey, my resilience. It was one of the rarest moments I felt like I was given my flowers while I could still smell them. That was a day that was so beautiful. That was the day that people kept shouting podcast when I said, what is something that you all would like to see next? That was the day that it kept chanting podcast, podcast, podcast. And I said, nope. And here I am, 31 episodes into the Resilient Podcast. Crazy, right? So then we talked about like a decade. A year, 10 years ago, I was 29 years old. Now I'm 39. So my friend goes to me, what has 39 taught you so far that 29 couldn't? And I'm like, man, I've only been 39 for a few days. I was just 39. I just turned 39 on Monday. It's now Saturday. So I said, if 39 has taught me anything so far, it's taught me that peace is more important than being understood. That not everyone who leaves your life is meant to stay. And that's okay. That self-worth can't come from someone else. And that healing doesn't always look like closure. It often looks like silence, growth, and becoming your own safe space. And my friend was like, whoa, beautiful. I was like, yeah, you got to become your own safe space. You become your own safe space, you could be somebody else's safe space. But you got to be your own self safe space first. I don't care what anybody else thinks, but that's what I feel. You have to be your own safe space before you could be anybody else's safe space. And I've been wanting to become a safe space for people for the longest time, especially for my future children. You know how beautiful that is to be your child's safe space where they could just come and feel comfort from you. And in relationships, like when your partner needs someone and you're their safe space, your partner is going to love you more for that. So my friend asks me, I told you what happened. And, I'm not going to disclose the conversation that we had. And they asked me, what would you say to someone silently suffering right now? And for him, I remember saying, you're not weak for struggling. You are not broken. And you definitely are not alone. Even though the world may feel heavy right now, so are the things you've carried. And you're still here. That in itself is a miracle. You don't have to heal overnight. You're not going to heal overnight. But, just breathe and just keep showing up for yourself today, tomorrow, the next day, and just keep going. Keep going no matter what and never give up. So my friend got up, gave me a hug, and they said, I wanted to let you know that I'm actually watching your podcast episodes. And I said, oh, thanks. And they said, you ask every guest of yours, what is your message to the world and why? And I was like, I do. So my friend asked me, what is your message to the world and why? So before I answer that, I just want to take a moment to make and have a toast of Terramana for 39 years on this earth, for my ex-girlfriend graduating from the police academy. Congratulations, Officer Austin, future detective. A toast to my friend, gone but never forgotten, Vanessa, to Mental Health Awareness Month, to resilience, and to everyone out there struggling. Remember, you are not alone. So here is this Terramana toast to all of that. Salud. And while we're on the subject of Mental Health Awareness Month, folks, don't forget to check out Nala Health, which is one of my proud sponsors, for all your holistic medicine needs, CBD, for pain, for inflammation, for anxiety, for insomnia, and whatnot, for addiction. When you visit their website, www.nalahealth.com, right here on the bottom, and you use the code TRP10 at checkout, you save 10% off of your order. TRP10 is the code. And don't forget to check out our merch at foryourwear.com. And then check out our merch, TRP shop. Also on our website, you can see it as well too, resiliencetribune.com/TRP shop. And while you're on the resiliencetribune.com, if you want to submit your story to us for the Resilience Tribune, and by the way, there's this beautiful story that's going to be posted in the next few days. Beautiful, beautiful story by this gentleman who has been supporting me for a long time. And when I share the story, it's going to be a little late this month, but it's going to be before the month is over. It's the story of the month. I look forward to those that want to share their story next month and in July, August, September, all the months to come. So, if you want to submit your story to us, make sure that you submit it to info@resiliencetribune.com. Information is right there. So, from the card of the day from my friend James, from the Christmas gifts that he gave me during Christmas, today's card says, every day is another chance. Every day is another chance to get up, try again, and do what you couldn't do yesterday. Be better than you were yesterday. And it's another chance to live the dream that you want to live, the life that you want to live. So folks, never give up. So now I'm going to answer what my message to the world is. And my message is, resilience is forever. Not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger. Because you decide that even in the face of heartbreak, silence, setbacks, or doubt, you will rise. Again and again. The world may never know your battles, but your survival is proof enough. Keep going and remember that you matter. Always remember that. So as this episode comes to an end, I want to thank you for sitting with me today and listening to this episode, watching this episode, because this episode wasn't easy, but it was necessary. Sometimes the most powerful episodes are the ones where we just tell the truth. And 39 feels like the beginning of a new chapter. And I plan to walk into it with honesty, softness, strength, and most importantly, resilience. I want to thank you all for joining me today. I look forward to episode 32, which, by the way, I will have a special guest on that episode. I look forward to this episode as we close Mental Health Awareness Month. But most importantly, I want people to understand that life is precious and life is a gift. So make sure that you thank God every day that you get to wake up, do what you need to do, and then go home and go to bed. A lot of people do not get that privilege. A privilege that we sometimes take for granted is making it home safe every day. So let's not take advantage of things and let's appreciate those things, those blessings. So, folks, this is all I have for you for this episode. I will see you all in episode 32. I am your host, Rob Aurelius, giving you a thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you all soon. Remember to always remain resilient. God bless, and I'll see you all soon. Peace.